What if the way a man truly tests you isn't about what he says, but about what he silently observes? What if the most important questions he's asking you are never spoken out loud, yet they quietly decide whether he chooses to walk beside you for a season or for a lifetime? You see, many believe that love is measured by words, by how often "I love you" is spoken, or how quickly someone responds to a message. But the deeper reality is this: people reveal more in the space between their words than in the words themselves. And a man who is serious about a woman will watch not in a way that is controlling or manipulative, but in a way that is deeply instinctive. He observes how you hold yourself when life is not giving you what you hoped for. He notices the way your energy shifts when uncertainty enters the room. Perhaps you've already experienced it. A pause in the conversation, a day when he doesn't text back, a plan delayed. On the surface, it seems small, but beneath it, something is taking shape, a quiet evaluation. And here is where most women misunderstand. They think these moments are about him being careless, distracted, or even testing them to play games. But often, they are not games at all. They are signals, invitations, silent questions that sound like this. Can she hold her own when things are unclear? Can she give space without losing her peace? Can she be steady even when the ground moves beneath her feet? By the end of our time together today, you will see these silent evaluations for what they truly are. You will recognize them when they happen. And perhaps most importantly, you will know how to meet them with both calm and power, without sacrificing your dignity or your warmth. What I will share with you may challenge what you've been told about love. It may even feel counterintuitive at first, because instead of telling you how to get more attention, I will show you how to become the kind of presence that does not need to chase it. We will walk through 6 hidden tests, not tests in the sense of tricks, but windows into how a man perceives your patience, your steadiness, your boundaries, your support, your independence, and your presence when silence falls. And here's the paradox: these tests are not really about him. They are about you, about the way you live inside your own skin, about whether you are grounded enough to meet another person without losing yourself. If you're willing to listen with both mind and heart, what you hear today might change the way you see every interaction from this moment forward. Not because you will learn how to please a man, but because you will understand how to stand in your own center and invite only those who can meet you there. Let us begin with the first and perhaps most revealing of these silent evaluations: the patience test. Patience is not simply the act of waiting. It is the way you wait. It is how you carry yourself when the moment does not give you what you hoped for. It is how you respond when answers do not come as quickly as you wish. It is how you maintain your dignity when uncertainty hangs in the air. Too many confuse patience with passivity. But patience, in its truest form, is an active discipline. It is the choice to remain steady inside, even when the outside is unsettled. You may not realize it, but men who are serious about a woman often notice this immediately, sometimes consciously, sometimes purely by instinct. They watch the rhythm of your emotional world. Imagine this: a man you are interested in says he will call you later. The hours pass. Your phone remains still. The first woman begins to feel that familiar wave of impatience. Her mind starts racing. Why hasn't he called? Did I do something wrong? Is he talking to someone else? Her fingers reach for the phone again and again, checking his online status, scrolling through past messages, sending a few more just to check in. By the time he finally calls, her tone is sharp, her words laced with accusation. Even if he had done nothing wrong, the energy between them is now heavy. Pressured, the second woman also notices the delay. She too feels a moment of curiosity, maybe even disappointment, but she does not hand over her inner peace to the clock. She continues with her evening. She keeps her plans, enjoys her book, her walk, her tea. When he calls, she answers with calm warmth, no punishment, no sharp edges. The difference between these two responses is not small. The first says, my emotional balance depends on you. The second says, my emotional balance belongs to me. And here is the truth. Patience reveals whether your center is internal or external. If you require instant replies, constant plan, and immediate validation, you show that your emotional state is controlled from the outside. But if you can wait without chasing, stay calm without accusing, and hold your own presence without collapsing into anxiety, you show something rare, a steadiness that is not ruled by the ticking of the clock, but by the compass within. Eastern philosophy gives us a clear image here. It is like a jar of muddy water. Shake it in frustration, and the water clouds. Set it down and allow it stillness, and clarity will rise on its own. The impatient heart is always shaking the jar, never giving the truth time to reveal itself. From a physiological perspective, impatience spikes cortisol, the stress hormone. This is why you feel restless, irritable, or reactive when you can't wait. That energy is felt by the other person, and often it pushes them away. Patience, on the other hand, keeps the nervous system in balance. It steadies your voice, softens your expression, and allows your words to be chosen instead of spilled. Let me share with you a story. A woman I once spoke to had been seeing a man for several weeks when, suddenly, he went silent for an entire day. In the past, this would have triggered her anxiety. She would have called, texted, demanded to know what was going on. But this time, she paused. She told herself, if he is meant to be here, he will be here. If he is pulling away, chasing him will not bring him closer. She spent her day reading, walking, and meeting a friend for coffee. The next evening, he called. He explained there had been a crisis at work. Then he said something important. I really like how you didn't blow up or demand an explanation. That says a lot about you. That one moment shifted their relationship. In his mind, she became someone he could trust, not just with his presence, but with his absence. Now, patience does not mean tolerating disrespect or neglect. It does not mean staying still when someone is showing you they are unreliable or dishonest. Patience is simply the discipline of allowing situations enough time to reveal their truth before you decide how to respond. When you push for answers before their time, if you stir the water and make it cloudy, when you give a moment the space to breathe, clarity emerges naturally. This is why men, consciously or not, test for patience. They want to know, can she handle my silence without assuming the worst? Can she allow space without trying to control the outcome? Can she trust the process enough to give it time? And here is the paradox. Patience is magnetic because it creates safety. Safety is not just physical protection, it is emotional protection. When a man senses that you will not erupt under pressure, that you can handle uncertainty without crumbling, he feels he can rest in your presence. And rest is something a man will not want to lose. In your own life, begin to notice these moments, the pause before reply, the gap between intention and action. Do you fill that gap with fear, or do you fill it with your own life? A woman who passes the patience test does not simply wait. She lives, she invests in her growth, her health, her passions. Her world does not pause while she waits for someone else to act. In fact, the more she fills her own time with purpose, the less she even notices the waiting. And this is the secret. The one who needs nothing from the moment is the one who moves it forward. The one who does not demand the seed to sprout today is the one whose garden grows strongest. Patience is not the absence of movement. It is the mastery of timing. It is knowing when to step forward, when to pause, and when to let the other person come toward you. In Shaolin training, we do not force the seed to grow. We prepare the soil, we water, we protect it from harm, but the sprouting that belongs to the seed's own time. So, in relationships, if you try to pull the roots before the tree is ready, you will kill the very thing you hope to grow. If you allow it space, air, and time, it will grow in ways you could never force. This is the patience test. And once you understand it, you will stop chasing reassurance and start becoming the kind of presence that never needs to. Now, patience may open the door, but it is consistency that keeps someone walking through it. The consistency test is the quiet, ongoing observation that answers a simple but life-defining question. Will she be the same person I admire today when the seasons change? Many people underestimate the value of consistency. They confuse it with boredom, with routine, with the absence of passion. But in reality, consistency is the quiet thread that weaves trust into a relationship strand by strand until it becomes strong enough to hold the weight of two lives. Without it, passion burns fast and fades faster. Chemistry becomes unpredictable. Grand gestures lose their meaning. Consistency is not about repeating the same words or actions without thought. It is about alignment. When your words, actions, and intentions match, not just once, but over time, through different moods, different circumstances, and different seasons of life. I once knew of a couple who began their relationship with warmth and tenderness. She would send kind messages, ask thoughtful questions, and make him feel seen. But as months passed, those gestures faded, not because she was unhappy, but because she believed the work of showing care was only for the early stage. Her affection depended on her mood. He never knew which version of her he would get. And slowly, the trust between them eroded not from betrayal, but from instability. Now, compare that to another couple. They faced something much harder, a sudden job loss that brought financial strain, For many, this would have turned love into tension. But she remained steady. Her tone stayed respectful, her presence supportive, her kindness intact. This was not because she ignored the hardship, it was because her way of treating him was rooted in principle, not in circumstance. He later told me, "That's when I knew I could marry her. She didn't shift on me when life shifted around us." Consistency is like a bridge. You can admire its design, its beauty, its promise. But if every time you cross it, you find a missing plank, you cannot trust it, no matter how beautiful it looks from afar. It is the bridge you trust to hold you every time you step on it. In sunshine or in storm, that becomes the lifeline between two shores. Men watch for consistency in many subtle ways. Does the kindness you show in the first weeks remain after the first conflict? Does the respect in your tone hold even when you're tired or frustrated? Do you follow through on what you promise? Even when it's inconvenient, it's not perfection they're looking for, it's predictability in your principles. They want to know, will your warmth survive the cold days? Will your honesty survive the uncomfortable truths? Psychology tells us that the human mind finds safety in patterns. When we can predict how someone will act, our nervous system relaxes, we shift from guarded to open, we begin to invest more deeply. Consistency also deepens biological bonding. The brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, not just from a single act of love, but from repeated positive interactions with the same person. The more those interactions follow a stable pattern, the more deeply the bond embeds itself in both nervous systems. This is why love often feels safer and more alive with someone whose words and actions are in sync over time. In Shaolin practice, we speak of balance maintained, not balance achieved. A fire that flares up and dies quickly can warm you for a moment, but it cannot keep you through the night. A steady flame may not leap as high, but it endures. Consistency is that steady flame. It may not dazzle in every moment, but it will keep you warm when the nights grow long. So I ask you, when life disrupts your comfort, does your treatment of others hold steady when your mood dips? Though your principles stay upright, because this is what the consistency test truly measures, not your best day, but your average day, not the ease of your love when all is well, but the steadiness of your love when all is not. This test is not just about whether a man can trust you, it is also about whether you can trust yourself. Self-trust grows when you live in alignment with your values, when you know that regardless of your mood, you will not speak with contempt. Regardless of your fatigue, you will not abandon your word. A man who sees this steadiness will understand that he can build with you because you will not vanish emotionally when the skies darken. Time reveals patterns that first impressions hide. Almost anyone can be patient, kind, and respectful for a week, a month, or even a season. But the true measure of character is whether those qualities endure through the changing tides. If patience is the art of waiting without losing yourself, then consistency is the art of staying yourself. No matter how long the wait, when you pass this test, you are not just showing a man that you are reliable, you are showing yourself that your life is guided by an inner compass, not by the shifting winds of the moment. And this inner compass, it is the same tool you will need for the next test. The next test is one that most people do not notice until they have already failed it. The boundary test. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are the clear lines that define where you end and another begins. They are the shape of your self-respect, made visible. In the early stages of attraction, it is easy to let those lines blur. The excitement, the desire to be liked, the fear of losing the connection, all of these can tempt you to say yes when your whole being knows the answer should be no. And this is where the test appears. Sometimes deliberate, sometimes unconscious. A man may push gently against your boundaries to see what happens. He is not always trying to control you. Often, he is trying to understand you. I once knew a woman who was invited on a weekend trip. After only 3 dates, she liked the man, felt attracted, but she was not ready for that level of intimacy. She could have said yes to avoid disappointing him. She could have said no in a way that was defensive or cold. Instead, she thanked him for the invitation, told him she would enjoy something like that in the future, but that for now, she preferred to keep things at a pace she felt comfortable with. She expected him to pull away. Instead, he respected her more. He later told her, "It showed me you wouldn't abandon yourself just to please me. Think of a river. Without banks, the water spreads thin, loses its depth, and eventually dries out. The banks do not block the river. They give it shape, direction, and force. Your boundaries are those banks. Without them, your energy leaks into places that do not nourish you. Boundaries can be tested in many subtle ways. A teasing remark that undermines you. To see if you laugh it off while feeling uncomfortable inside. An invitation to something you don't believe in. To see if you'll agree for fear of losing interest. A suggestion that challenges your values. To see if you will stand by them. How you respond matters as much as what you choose. A boundary enforced with hostility creates distance. A boundary enforced with calm firmness creates respect. In Shaolin teaching, we speak of right alignment. This is when your actions do not fracture your inner balance. To live out of alignment, to betray your own limits, to please another, is to live in quiet conflict with yourself. Over time, that conflict becomes fatigue, resentment, even illness. When you honor your boundaries, your mind and body work together. You stand without tension, speak without apology, and act without self-betrayal. Ask yourself, do I know where my boundaries actually are? Do I voice them clearly before resentment builds? Do I enforce them with the same calm in love as I would in any other part of life? If the answer is no, then understand this. The people in your life are not only learning what your boundaries are, they are learning how seriously you take them. A man who is serious about a future wants to know if you will remain whole in the relationship. If you bend yourself to fit every desire, he may enjoy the advantage in the short term, but over time, he will lose respect because respect cannot grow where self-respect does not exist. A young man once told me about inviting a woman to a party known for heavy drinking. She politely declined, saying it wasn't the kind of environment she enjoyed. At first, he felt a flicker of disappointment, but later, he realized her refusal was not a rejection of him. It was a commitment to herself. That quiet integrity became part of her attractiveness. In martial arts, the strength of your stance determines the strength of your strike. If your stance is weak, the opponent will feel it immediately. In relationships, your stance is your boundary. If it shifts under pressure, the connection loses stability. The boundary test often happens early when emotions are high and the temptation to overcompromise is at its peak. Passing it sends a clear signal: my self-worth is not negotiable. I will not abandon myself to win someone else. And the ones worth keeping close, they will not be pushed away by that strength. They will be drawn closer to it. Boundaries are not an obstacle to love. They are the container that allows love to deepen without drowning you. Without them, you risk creating a fragile harmony, one that shatters at the first real difference. So hold your banks firmly. Let your river flow strong. And understand this: a man who respects you will never resent your boundaries, and a man who resents your boundaries is showing you exactly why they were needed. We move now to a test that reveals itself when the glitter of the early stage fades, when life becomes less about attraction and more about reality. The support test. Support is easy when everything is smooth. It costs nothing to clap when the music is already playing, to smile when success is already in the room. But the real measure is whether someone stands steady beside you when the song stops. This test often arrives unannounced, not with a dramatic crisis, but with something small. A project that drains your energy, a challenge that shakes your confidence, a dream you share that stretches beyond your current life. In these moments, the question is not, does he like me, but can he stand with me when I am not easy to stand with? And men who are serious, they will watch for this quality in you. A man loses his job, the mood at home changes, tension could easily take root. The first partner reacts with criticism. Why didn't you prepare better? Why are you so down? The words may be born from worry, but they add weight to an already heavy load. The second partner listens. She acknowledges the hardship but remains respectful. She adjusts where she can, keeps warmth in her tone, and continues to show belief in his ability to recover. Months later, when stability returns, he remembers her steadiness more than the difficulty. It became a moment that deepened his trust, not just in her love, but in her loyalty. Support is like tending a garden in the off-season. When the flowers are gone, the ground looks empty, but beneath the soil, roots are still alive. The gardener who keeps watering, who keeps the soil healthy even when no one else sees life, that is the one who will see spring return strongest. Support is not only emotional, sometimes it's practical, helping with a task, sharing a resource, creating space for someone to breathe. Sometimes it's silent, noticing they are tired and taking on what you can, without announcing it for credit. Sometimes it's protective, defending their character when they are not there to defend themselves. And sometimes support means not trying to fix everything. Instead, sitting beside someone in their difficulty and allowing them to feel what they feel without rushing them. In Shaolin practice, we say a mountain does not need to move to give shelter. Support is not about taking over someone's journey. It is about being a presence they can lean on without fear that you will collapse under the weight. Genuine support is tied to empathy, the ability to feel with someone, not just for them. Neuroscience shows that when two people are deeply connected, their emotional states can synchronize. You can sense the tension in their voice, the heaviness in their silence, even without words. When you respond to that without being asked, you are showing a form of presence that cannot be faked. Ask yourself, when someone you care for is under pressure, do you add to their burden? Or do you make it lighter? Do you need recognition for your support? Or is the act itself enough? Because here is the truth: many can offer comfort when it benefits their image. Few can offer it when no one is watching. And there is no applause. A woman I once met had been with her partner for 2 years when he faced a serious health challenge. For months, there were no celebrations, no good days to post online. But she stayed, not in a performative way, not with constant speeches, but with quiet, reliable présence. Later, he said, I knew then I could face anything with her, because she stayed when there was nothing to gain. Support is not tested in the light, it is tested in the shadow. A man who sees you steady in those shadows knows that you are not only a companion for the easy days, you are a partner for the whole path. And remember, the support you give is not just for him. It is also a reflection of the support you expect and accept in return. When you live by this balance, you create a partnership where both can grow without fear that the other will disappear when the sky darkens. The ones who are worth walking with will never forget the days you stood still for them. The next test is one that many fail, not because they lack love, but because they misunderstand it. The independence test. Love thrives when two whole people choose each other. It weakens when one disappears into the other. In the beginning, it feels natural to want to give everything: your time, your attention, your energy. You think, if I give more, the connection will grow stronger. But over time, something shifts. Human nature begins to take for granted what is always available. What was once appreciated becomes assumed. And when you have poured so much of yourself into the other person that nothing remains for you, you not only lose your balance, you lose the spark that drew them to you in the first place. A woman makes herself available for her partners. Every call, every request, every whim. At first, he admires her devotion, but months later, he stops thanking her for it. It is no longer a gift, it is an expectation. Another woman loves deeply, but she keeps her own life alive. She still meets friends, works on her craft, and pursues her goals. When she gives her time, it is a choice, not a default. And because of that, her presence remains a privilege, not an entitlement. Think of a tree. If all its branches grow in one direction, it will eventually topple under its own imbalance. The same is true in relationships. If all your growth bends toward the other person, the structure becomes unstable. Balance is not selfish, it is survival. The independence test appears in many subtle ways. Do you keep up your own routines when you are in love? Or do they disappear? Do you make time for personal growth even when your relationship is going well? Do you give space without resentment and take space without guilt? Men who are serious about the future watch this closely, because they know life will bring seasons where they cannot be your constant focus. They want to see if you can remain whole during those seasons. In Shaolin teaching, we say the river does not flow only in one channel. It feeds many banks, and so it stays alive. Your life must remain yours, even in love. Otherwise, love becomes ownership. Independence keeps attraction alive. not because of games or distance, but because you continue to grow as a person. You bring new experiences, new perspectives, and new energy into the relationship. When you lose yourself, the dynamic shifts. You stop inspiring and start exhausting. This does not mean withholding affection or living a separate life in the name of strength. Independence is not about walls. It's about rhythm. There are moments when the right thing is to give fully, without hesitation. And there are moments when the right thing is to step back and let the relationship breathe. Think of a fire. If you keep adding wood constantly, and you smother it. If you never add wood, it dies out. The art is in knowing when to feed it and when to let it burn naturally. Ask yourself if the only thing keeping them close is your constant giving. Are they truly with you or with the benefits you provide? If you can pause, if you can hold back without fear, you send a message: I am here by choice, not by dependence. That message is magnetic. I once met a woman who, after years of over-giving, decided to reclaim her time. She still loved her partner, but she reintroduced hobbies, reconnected with old friends, and began to study a subject she had always been curious about. Her partner noticed the change not as distance, but as vitality. He saw her light growing again, and it reignited his attraction. Independence is not the opposite of love. It is the foundation of healthy love. When you pass the independence test, you show a man that you can stand beside him as an equal, not leaning on him for your identity, and not disappearing into him for your worth. And when he knows you can walk alone, he will choose to walk with you. Not because you need him, but because you both recognize the value of the path together. We come now to the final of these 6 hidden evaluations. The reaction test. If patience shows how you wait, if consistency shows how you live, then reaction shows who you are in the moment of impact. Every relationship will face moments of pressure, a delayed reply, an unexpected change of plan, a misunderstanding, a silence that feels longer than it should. And here is the truth: it's not the event itself that determines the outcome, it's the reaction. A man who is serious about a woman will notice how she meets moments of tension, not because he wants her to be perfect, but because he wants to know whether she can hold her ground without turning the ground into a battlefield. Imagine this: he's been distant for 2 days because of work stress. The first woman interprets this as rejection. She sends a flurry of messages, each one sharper than the last. By the time he explains, the damage is already done. The conversation is no longer about his stress, it's about her accusations. The second woman notices his absence but resists the urge to fill it with fear. She gives the benefit of the doubt, continues with her own rhythm, and when he does reach out, she listens first before speaking. The difference is not in what happened, but in how each chose to meet it. In martial arts, we train not to strike first, but to control our stance so that when force comes toward us, we can respond without losing balance. Your reaction is your stance in emotional combat. If it collapses under pressure, the connection collapses with it. The reaction test often comes without warning. A man might delay responding to see if you stay grounded or spiral. Share a viewpoint different from yours to see if you can discuss instead of attack. Make a small mistake to see if you correct with calm or punish with anger. The goal is not to catch you out, but to see if you can meet conflict without turning it into chaos. In Shaolin teaching, we say the still pond reflects the moon. The disturbed pond reflects only itself. When you react impulsively, you reflect only your own unrest. When you respond with calm, you reflect the truth of the situation and give it space to resolve. A man who is building for the long term knows that life will test both of you, not just with romance, but with stress, loss, and external pressures. If every challenge turns into a personal war, the relationship will not survive. But if challenges are met with curiosity, listening, and self-control, the relationship can deepen through them. This test is not about suppressing your feelings. It's about mastering the gap between feeling and action. When you feel the heat rising, pause. Ask yourself, what is real in this moment? And what is my fear projecting? Will this reaction move us forward or push us apart? That pause is the space where self-mastery is born. A friend once told me about the moment he decided to propose to his partner. It wasn't during a holiday or a romantic dinner. It was after a small but telling incident, a delayed flight, hours of waiting, and missing an important event. He was tense, frustrated. She could have matched his frustration, but instead, she suggested they find a quiet place to eat, made him laugh about the situation, and let the night become something they remembered fondly. He told me later, if she could turn that day into something good, I knew she could handle the rest of our lives. Ask yourself, when the unexpected comes, do you add to the weight or help to carry it? Do you respond in a way that preserves connection or in a way that burns bridges? Because here is the hidden truth. The way you react in small moments will be assumed to be the way you react in the big ones. Reaction is the mirror that reveals the strength of your emotional foundation. Patience, consistency, boundaries, support, independence. All of them prepare you for this. When you pass the reaction test, you are not just showing a man that you can stay calm under pressure. You are showing yourself that you can trust your own composure, no matter what comes, and that trust in yourself is the deepest security you can bring into any relationship. We have walked through 6 tests: patience, consistency, boundaries, support, independence, reaction. Each on its own is powerful, but together they form a single thread, a thread that weaves the fabric of trust, respect, and attraction. At first glance, these may seem like separate qualities, but in truth, they are different expressions of the same inner foundation. Emotional self-mastery, patience teaches you to be calm in uncertainty. Consistency shows that your principles do not shift with the weather. Boundaries protect your self-respect and the shape of your life. Support proves your presence when it is hardest to give. Independence keeps you whole, so love can remain a choice, not a need. Reaction reveals your ability to stay centered under pressure. 6 doors, all leading to the same inner chamber, the place within you that does not crumble when the outside world changes. Think of yourself as a temple. The tests are the pillars. Remove one, and the structure becomes unstable. Patience is the pillar that holds time. Consistency is the pillar that holds trust. Boundaries are the pillar that holds respect. Support is the pillar that holds loyalty. Independence is the pillar that holds balance. Reaction is the pillar that holds peace. When all stand strong, on the temple can shelter both you and the person you choose to share your life with. These qualities are not just for passing a man's silent evaluations. They are the same qualities that life itself will test again and again. A delayed opportunity will test your patience. A long-term goal will test your consistency. Pressure from others will test your boundaries. Loved ones in difficulty will test your support. Times of solitude will test your independence. Unexpected change will test your reaction. Pass these tests in life, and you will pass them in love. Fail them in life, and the cracks will show in love as well. In Shaolin teaching, we say asterisk. The form you hold in practice is the form you will hold in battle. Asterisk. In relationships, the qualities you live daily in how you treat yourself, in how you meet the world, are the same ones that will surface when love is tested. The hidden thread is this: a healthy relationship is not built by trying to control the other person's actions. It is built by mastering your own. When you live with patience, with steady principles, with clear self-respect, with loyalty, with balance, and with composure, you do not need to perform these qualities when tested. They are simply who you are. And when a man who is serious sees this in you, he does not just think, asterisk, she passed my tests. Asterisk, he feels, asterisk, this is a woman I can walk with through every season. We began this journey with a question. What if the way a man truly tests you isn't about what he says, but what he silently observes? Now, after walking through the 6 tests: patience, consistency, boundaries, support, independence, reaction, you see that these are not tricks to pass. They are practices to live. This is not about shaping yourself to meet someone's approval. It is about becoming so deeply rooted in your own values and balance that you naturally embody the qualities that healthy love recognizes and cherishes. You are not here to chase love. You are here to become the kind of person who attracts it without grasping and who can hold it without fear of losing yourself. In Shaolin training, we are taught the mountain does not seek the traveler, yet the traveler comes. When you live with patience, when your actions match your words, when your boundaries stand firm, when your support is steady, when your independence keeps you whole, and when your reactions are measured, you become that mountain. You are steady. You are safe. You are a place someone wants to return to, not because you hold them there, but because you give them the freedom to choose you again and again. Do not wait for these tests to arrive in love before you practice them. Live them now, in your work, in your friendships, in how you treat yourself. Every moment is training. Every interaction is a chance to strengthen these pillars, so that when love does arrive, you are not pretending to be ready. You are ready. If what we've spoken about today has stirred something in you, a recognition, a challenge, maybe even discomfort, take it as a sign. Choose one of these 6 qualities and begin strengthening it this week. Not for him, not for them, but for you, because when you are grounded in yourself, you will never fear the silence, the delay, the challenge, or the test. You will know I have already built what I need within me. So walk forward with this truth. Love that lasts is not built in the storms or in the sunshine. It is built in the steadiness between, and you have the power to be that steadiness